Yes, hello there. It is time for Apple Bites, where we take a bite out of everything and share it with you. Yes, we are here. And of course, name my sidekick or my co-host or the man with
You
the plan is
struggling
Mr.
there?
Matt.
You struggling there, sir? You okay? You
I,
okay?
I I feel like I'm not, but
All right. So welcome everybody to Apple Bites once again on Monday, and yeah. So we this weekend was interesting. Ralph, you tried to make it out to Art in the Park, but
yeah.
things fell apart.
All right,
So
it fell apart, but it actually went very well. I got a bunch of stuff from our pal, and I'm gonna put it together to show you how much fun it was because the event actually went pretty well.
yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. Um, I
It,
had
it's
my own
funny
things
because I
going
wasn't
on. So
expecting it to be what it turned out to be, and now I wish I really we really would have made it because it felt like a different type of event, you know.
it looked about what I expected. I mean, everything she said was there, so
Oh
I'm not
no, it
sure.
completely, but it had a more festive feel to it, you know.
That's what it was. It was a festival.
It was,
It
but
was a festival of art in the
dude, you know
park.
what? We do so many conventions, we do so many that you start to like want expect certain things, and that's not what I was
This
expecting.
wasn't a convention, though. At
Hey,
no
it
point was it
felt like
said
a
to be a
convention.
convention. No, that's you associating. That
I can
is you.
completely agree with you there. It is me associated.
Uh,
Oh man. And our friend Bitsy is doing a little better. We still need to give her a push so that she can get this Kickstarter funded. Let me just share a little bit here.
Once again, Bitsy, our friend Bitsy Tyson. Wait,
You always say Tyson.
yeah,
That's so funny.
I don't. What is Bitsy Tyson that I keep confusing it with?
I don't know, but
What?
I keep wanting
I
to
know it's
create a
some sort of
character.
anime thing. I know it's some sort of anime thing.
I keep wanting to create a character that's named Bitsy Tyson now.
Of it is a manga series. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
so it is manga.
Yes. And it's one that I actually enjoyed. Okay, makes sense.
So that explains
Bitsy Tandem.
Bitsy Tandem. Yeah, Bitsy Tandem. She has Made It in Disguise. It's a great little series. She's trying to get these mid bits done, which is a animated version of the little in between parts of the book called mid bits. And she is so close, and she still has 46 hours to go. Come on, people, let's get her funded. All she needs is another 1,101. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our friend Roaming Tony actually put in $56 into this.
Man. Tony, where you dropping that from, bro?
And that's the whole thing. We were trying to I'm trying to find cash from places I don't have it to see if I can throw some stuff her way as well. So we can get this funded because it's actually such a great project. She's helping her she's making her dream come true with her project. At the same time, she's helping other people's dreams come true because you have voiceover artists, you have beautiful artists who are drawing everything together. It's such a fantastic little project.
It is. And
So help Bitsy get funded. Let's do this,
yes.
people. That's why we're here for. We're here to help out the little guys in the community so that we can get all this great material out there. And there's just so much beautiful stuff out there. And I keep telling you guys, the more you put pressure on Marvel and DC, as a side added bonus, the more
This isn't a
they'll
comic,
step
Ralph.
up their game.
This isn't a comic. This is an animation.
Oh, it's an animation and a manga because I have the manga right there.
Exactly. So
Dude, I love
already it's in competition with Marvel and
exactly. I
DC.
love the fact that
Don't even try.
love the fact that she did the book in Japanese and English. That's just fantastic. Of course, Cadma has the Japanese version. And as soon as
Of
she's
course.
finished being busy, she'll do a little review for it.
I mean, I could do a review. Most people
Yeah,
don't like my reviews, but
but you like this, so
it's not my fault I'm critical.
That's why when you like Sonic the Hedgehog, it was like such an amazing thing. And I'm gonna keep bringing that
You're
up.
never gonna let that go.
No, nope, never gonna let it go. You actually liked it. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Did you see 2 yet?
No,
I want to see what you think about 2. I've heard a lot of good things about 2, so
I've seen clips. I know a good portion of how the story goes. So
you sound like me when I get all the information.
yeah, I don't. So I don't like going to the movie theaters.
I kind of figured that out a while ago.
I don't like movie theaters. I don't mind watching a movie. I just don't like going to the theaters.
Okay, makes sense. Is it for a particular reason? Because I know there's certain movies I feel like should be watched in the theater with people.
See, I don't like watching movies with people. I mean that's kind of a very big thing. So like I would need the theater to be empty.
Oh man. Dude, I've only had that happen to me a couple of times where I was in a theater and there was only like 3 or 4 of us in there, and it was a fantastic experience to be able to see a movie with so little people in the theater, enjoying the big screen. Almost felt like a personal viewing, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. But like also for the same thing, like I would rather just have a really good monitor and watch my movie off of that
Mm-hmm.
because the color quality is generally better. And then you could put on headphones that have better sound experiences. So, I mean, I'm not really sure why people praise the theaters when like I don't really get the home theater thing at all. Don't I? No idea why. No idea why.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. I was like, well, if you're going in this direction, that means that you don't get that home theater thing.
No, because so like the only thing that I would say a home theater does better is like for like when you want that subwoofer experience. But aside from that, like just get a really, really good set of headphones.
Right.
And not earbuds, headphones, like an actual headset goes over your head. High quality drivers. It sounds better. You don't need no Adobe Atmos.
Have you gone to the theaters with the improved sound, or the
Yes.
theaters with the improved
Yes.
video? I know
Yes.
that I like IMAX theaters. It's a pretty interesting experience.
I've been to all of them. I don't. The only theater I've enjoyed actually going to
Right.
has been the Alamo, and that's because they bring you food.
Okay. Have you tried the theater in downtown
Yeah.
Manhattan? The
Yeah.
I Theater?
Yeah.
Where it's a whole different experience. You actually got a bar, there's food, it's an interesting experience. I really loved it.
Yeah. This is the thing. It's not that I haven't been to theaters. It's just I don't like theaters.
Right.
I've been to a lot of theaters. I just don't like them. And the more I go, the less I like.
Makes sense. All right, so let's bring our pal in because he's out in the outskirts waiting, and he was in MegaCon with a bunch of other buddies who we had down there, like Copy 801. Said his name right.
Yeah, you did. By the way, Copy, I hope everything you got, because man, he had a list for what he wanted. And
did you see his live? He was like, I did this and I did that, and I'm like, dang, he was busy at MegaCon.
Yeah, he had like most of that set up like months ago, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because right before the pandemic happened, we had a chance to go to Mega, and it fell apart. And I wanted to try it again, but it's gonna have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
But at least we get people like HH here coming from MegaCon and talking to us about the experience. And I know Mega is one of those great conventions that people actually have to go to. Would you agree or disagree?
That question for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
hello,
sure,
everyone.
no problem. I
Certainly.
know we're throwing you into the fire, but we do that sometimes.
Perfectly fine. I'm from the Bronx, so totally used to it.
See, that's what I figured. You know, we New Yorkers know what happens.
That's right. It was a great experience. I was there, just got back. Lots of people. It was so many people that the cell phone tower went down.
I
Not
heard about that from a couple
yeah,
of my friends that were there.
right. So obviously not literally the tower was intact. It's just the amount of bandwidth.
Exactly.
It brought everything to a screeching halt. So there were vendors like myself. We actually couldn't do business for a certain period of time in terms of cashing, using credit cards or charging.
That's what my friend was upset about. Yeah.
Right. So no, but it was a great time. Lots of great people, good times. It was my first time there at MegaCon. So yeah, it was a great experience. We got a lot of great leads, a lot of new people learning about Here Comes Calico, Sigma Comics.
Yeah, that's a great con to be. It's one of the bigger conventions. I know you probably got a lot of traffic. You know, the book is amazing, I have to say. Like I was telling you, in the green room, I really enjoyed it. Well, I got my first issue and I read through it, and I can see why you get all these accolades of how shocking it is.
Right.
And first of all, because I want to jump in right away because I have all these little questions popping in my head.
Before we do, because I haven't read Calico. What is Calico?
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
What
I was
is
about
Calico?
to ask HH to give us the spiel.
No, you're going in way too deep.
I was about to, but I wanted him to give us the spiel. Go ahead.
Sure. Here's a 10,000-foot view. So basically, Here Comes Calico. So the Calico is a character, Hector Gill, who gets intel on people who abuse and kill animals. He goes after them with extreme justice. So Batman leaves the bad guys tied up for Commissioner Gordon. The Calico leaves animal abusers tied up in hefty bags in the East River. So this guy's pretty hardcore. He's not your run-of-the-mill hero. He's easily, at best, an anti-hero.
Right.
At worst, he's a straight criminal. So there's a sprinkled about the book. You get the sense that he's had dealings with the underworld quite regularly in his past.
Right.
So there's references to that. So in short, he was a thief, at a very high level, and he just gave it up. And his love of, well, it's really more his antisocial qualities,
right,
caused him to just step away from people, just the politics of life and dealing with people. And he's found that he loves animals, but that passion and skill that he has, it's one thing to be antisocial. It's another thing to be very talented at a very high level at certain things. In his case, fighting. He's a former boxer too.
Right.
So here's somebody who was operating at a very high level as a fighter and as a thief. So those are two skill sets that serve you, can serve yourself well in the streets of New York City.
That's
if you have a passion, which in his case is animals, he's not going to go dormant and not do anything with that. So that's sort of the overall premise. This guy just really doesn't like people. He's sort of lost faith in humanity, and he's marinating in his skills by himself. You spend some time with yourself. You get to know yourself, and things start to happen in your head. So that's sort of where we are with these characters. So there's a lot of texture to this book. And
it definitely is. You can see it, and there's so many questions that just kept popping into my head. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting direction to go with it. I know, he's a hero of color.
Right.
And is that the first thing that popped into your head as soon as you created the character?
Well, here's the thing, right? So the Calico is black, white, and brown. The Calico cat.
Right.
Okay. You look at a Calico cat is black, white, and tan. Right. Now, us Caribbean Latinos, we have a very unique background. And it's that we have white, black, and tan and brown, native, in our blood. So that's really why they call him the Calico. But he's a calico cat and he loves animals. So, and that's sort of his thing. He's a calico cat, 3 colors, represents his identity, his background. And
that's actually pretty deep. Actually a good world building.
Right.
The whole concept of, well, this is why we did it, because it has a real reason, a real base. And yeah, you're right. Us Caribbean Latinos, tend to have a lot of mixture in our blood.
Right.
We're all, when I was younger, the people would be like, "You're a mutt." I'm like, "Yes, I am." I think they always thought I was going to get upset, but
yeah, listen. We come in all colors, hues, and flavors. You look at someone like A-Rod or someone like Big Papi,
yeah,
and all of us are Latinos. We got Carlos Cantana, we got Felix Trinidad. We got a lot of flavor under that sun, that Caribbean sun, and there's black, influence, African influence there, European, obviously, native, Taino influence. So when you look at those colors, they all mix together, and that's precisely the color of the Calico cat. So we found it to be especially salient, given that the characters of New York, and he's a New Yorker, and there's so much diversity here, and he really is indicative of what you would call a more realistic type of hero that you would possibly find here in New York, because of the diversity, because of the very complex subject matter that we deal with, every day in New York City. So.
Definitely. And here's the interesting thing, and I know I'm probably like rushing to get to it, but it's such an interesting thing for me, where he is vicious when it comes to protecting animals.
Right.
And it's funny. I'm kind of surprised at the fact that so many people are so surprised at how vicious he is. and I was asking you in the green room, do you think it's because it's animals instead of humans? Because the Punisher, when he's doing what he's doing, it's because he's doing it for people. But
Right.
Our friend Calico here is doing it for animals. Do you think because he's being so vicious with what he's doing, and it's for animals, people get kind of feel funny about it?
Well, there's 3 layers to that. So the first one is the one on the surface. Yes, I think people have a very, it doesn't matter where they're from, what country. People have a very primal connection to animals, because we deal with each other every day, and the animal kingdom is so varied and textured, and there are very close relationships that are formed, with a friend, an animal friend, what we call a pet, and the interactions are very different. With a human being, there's an extra layer of thinking that you have to have, or a facade to be able to interact in most cases, whereas an animal just really doesn't care. There's a funny ad that was written back in the 90s. I went to the School of Visual Arts, and there was an ad that was written there. I think it was a spec ad. These are ads that are mock-ups before they're actually printed. And it was an image of a guy running just naked on the beach. This guy had to easily weigh 280, 300 pounds.
Right.
Just running free like he didn't care. Like he had the best body in the world. And you know what? His dog was right next to him, loving every bit of it, enjoying life without any concerns, any facades.
Right.
And the headline read something like, "To your pal, he just really doesn't care. He loves you anyway." Something like that. It was for his dog food, like give him the best dog food, something like that. Always by your side. So anyway, so that's the first level. It's the connection that you have. They're very intimate and primal connection. The second is the mental aspect and emotional aspect. This is somebody who's living alone, who's now spending a lot of time by himself with very high levels of skill that he's implemented. And rage when he is here's the thing. So you mentioned the Punisher. Frank Castle had something that happened to him in his life. It happened once.
Yeah.
He lost his wife and his kids, and he lives that, in his head, he lives it every day. But it happened once to him.
Yeah.
What Hector Gill is seeing is every single day he's getting images on his computer, on his phone, by Dog Mama, who's the hack. Not the hack, but the internet researcher who works with hackers, and sends him this information so that they can all together solve these, not really solve these cases, but bring these people to justice, right?
Exactly.
So there's that. There's the fact that this man is living every single day of his life. If you think the Punisher's full of rage, this guy's every single day he's getting this.
You
Okay,
actually
he
feel
loves
that in the
animals.
first issue. You actually feel, how rageful he is when he's getting this information, and
Right.
every time it makes him even angrier and angrier. Yeah.
I mean, this guy's got the rage of the Hulk happening every single day. So this guy's in terms of rage level, he's way beyond, Frank. I understand this was his family and his wife and kids, but time. One of the things about time heals wounds, even if it's your loved ones. Yes, it's huge, and you're always going to carry that, but you don't have it fresh every day.
Right.
You have the big thing, and then it's like, oh, and you think about it, and you get down. No, this is every single day. Fresh open wounds. These are fresh cuts that this guy's getting. So that's two. The third thing is, I had this conversation with Mike Barron. Mike Barron, of course, the seminal Punisher writer.
Right.
I think he's actually the most prolific. He wrote the Punisher Volume 2 from issues 1 to 44. Wonderful. I think he's the best Punisher writer, period. And of course, Chuck Dixon is a customer of the series. Another
man. Yeah. I gotta admit, I was gonna tell you that later on, but I was going through your stuff and I saw Chuck has said something like, "Oh my God, it's Chuck!" And and Chuck does that gritty stuff really well, and I'm a big fan of Chuck Dixon. And
right.
I saw his name pop up. I was like, "Oh, that's a great great piece right there."
Yeah, when that one came through, I was like, "Whoa, this is." I mean, that was a mic drop. Well, that's it. I pretty much arrived here. If you got somebody like that telling you that your book is good, but anyway, I spoke to Mike Barron about this, and he gave me a lot of guidance starting in issue 5, which is on Kickstarter now.
Right.
But one of the things that Chuck said was, and he and I corresponded as well. But one of the things that he said on his show, he has a show, and by the way, anybody listening to this, Chuck Dixon has a great, YouTube show. Also subscribe to his show in addition to this wonderful show, where he gives out great info.
I'm a big Chuck Dixon fan, so go over there and subscribe.
There you go. Yeah, he said, Chuck Dixon said, he was asked about, Frank Castle and, his drive to killing criminals. And what he said was, Frank Castle doesn't concern himself with the manner in which you die. He just wants to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. He wants you out of the picture. His main prerogative, he's 90-10 killing you, and 10 is, how he does it. Right. Whereas for the Calico, it's totally opposite. And from having read issue 1, it's the best example. This guy,
he's making sure that you're dying a certain way.
There you go. You hit it right on the head, Raph. Mm-hmm. So this guy mainly cares about making sure you exit life in the absolute most horrifying, painful way possible because of what you did to those animals.
Exactly.
When you kill those animals, it's like you're killing his family. Because he really doesn't, that we know of have any family, right? Up until this part of the story. So he really loves animals, and he considers these people the absolute worst pieces of, humanity on the planet. So he's going to take you out badly, very badly. Mm.
Completely see it. Yeah, you see it right away in the first issue.
Right.
It's there plain to see. Going, this is what he's going to do.
Yeah, we want to make it very clear from the beginning the type of element you're dealing with here as a reader. We don't want to hide. We don't want to pull punches with the subject matter, with the character. We want issue 1 to be a very frank and stark, introduction to Hector Gill, the Calico,
right,
and how he operates.
So I know you got your Kickstarter. Issue 5 is the Kickstarter going on.
Right.
I know there's a catch-up tier there where you can actually get all the issues, right?
Yes, we're still building that out because we have people who, because we do so many shows, now we have people who are like, hey, we want to participate in the Kickstarter. And of course, when we get them at the show, they usually get issues 1 and 2.
Right.
So if they try to do the Kickstarter, well, already have this one and that one. So we're trying to do different tiers. So every other day, it seems, we're doing different tiers based on what people, are needing. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely. We have quite a few for it.
That's good because like I always pick up the first issue because it's always you're gonna know what if you like it or not in the first issue, and I was like, okay, I'll pick up the first issue. Your price just to pick it up when you see you in person is amazing because it's not the usual price for a book. It's what was it? I think I picked it up for $2.
Yeah.
It's
we do high volume, and it goes to it's a great thing to bring up, Ralph, because we believe that that's one of the deficiencies in today's comics. I think that
Exactly.
today's, big two, they just fundamentally disrespecting customers by presenting the product in this manner, and B, just not dedicating the level of quality that really needs to be there. And of course, I'm speaking today,
Right.
not historically, because I think not just myself, but all of us are huge fans of Marvel and DC. They've done a
Oh yeah,
fantastic
because
job.
dude, I know you remember we actually had this conversation recently, and I have it all the time because I feel like they're not looking forward at the generations to come. They're looking at the base who we are, trying to sell us books. But I'm like, dude, when I was younger, I was able to buy 4 or 5 books with a couple of bucks.
Right. Right. Ralph, that's another great point. So I agree with you. Fiscally speaking, I agree with you. They are, pricing these books at up, right? People who understand, the product, and of course have passion and deep admiration for the product. But yeah, a kid off the street isn't going to be paying, $6-7 for a comic book. It's ridiculous. You got to respect the customer.
Dude, man, when I was younger, you had that fight. You go, I got $5. And then, it was easier then, though, because you go, well, I can buy 1 book, and then I can buy other stuff with the rest of the money.
Right.
That's not how it is now, man. Now you
Yeah.
got to go, I can buy 1 comic, or I can buy stuff. I think I'll buy
Right.
stuff.
Right. And there's there's a little bit of I don't want to take it into a whole new conversation, but comics is changing.
Yeah.
We're at a very interesting part of the history right now, where the business, frankly, has been mismanaged, for the past few years. The fundamentals of the business have changed. Of course, the society's changed, right? Our culture's changed. So I don't think there has been a pronounced effort by the part of the big two, or the big three, I guess, in this case, but really more the big two, to address all these changes that have happened, i.e., technology, society, culture. There are all these little aspects that if you're a sound business manager, you can look at the fundamentals of all these layers and then address them through intelligent, prudent business decisions. Okay, in talent and paying these people. For instance, just look at salaries. These companies aren't paying the artists what they deserve, and you look at the IP that these organizations are putting out, and you're talking about multi-billion-dollar entities. Some of these are franchise, and I'm talking individually. Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. You can make these companies making billions of dollars. Okay, yet they're turning around where the stories come from and paying these people a pittance. Where they do,
that you're saying that, because it's the whole concept that your gateway is being treated like dirt. This is where your stuff is coming from. You got to remember this is where it's coming from, and they're like, we don't give a shit about. Excuse my language. We don't care about where it's coming from. We just want to make it into a movie so we can make our money.
There you go.
Care if you want to go buy a comic book, because who cares about that anymore?
Right, and there's your problem right there. The problem is the money, and whenever you have corporations entering the fray, that's where things change. Okay, I don't know how many people know this. Of course, we're aware of this on the show, but to the average person who just wants to pick up a comic book, I don't think they know that Marvel's a corporation now. It's part of a corporation.
Part of a corporation, yeah.
As is DC. It's part of an actual publicly traded corporation. Mm-hmm. Once you're a publicly traded NASDAQ corporation, that is a completely different entity from Marvel Comics Group, where we had it was counterculture. Comics has always been counterculture. Okay. I've heard it said, oh, well, geeks, reading comic books, of course, back in the 70s and 80s. And the truth is, geeks aren't only comprised of smart, nerdy kids. Geeks are people who are, down and, not sure of, what they've got going on. Maybe they don't have the best money. They don't have the right, pants or the right shirts. They're just not the accepted crowd. Okay. And they take a different route. That's why you see kids in the inner cities, like myself, who weren't nerds per se, but we were big fans of comic books. If you look at hip hop, artists such as MF Doom, the Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, all of these, wonderful acts had comic books as a key, in their creative, inspiration. So,
if I could say, I actually have to disagree with people not seeing Marvel and DC as corporations nowadays, because I think a lot of people now see Marvel not as Marvel, but as an extension of Disney. Sort of like when Disney acquired Marvel, we no longer see like Marvel in control. We see Disney controlling it. And the same thing's true with DC.
Right. So, and to clarify, didn't really say that everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It said it's certain people who are picking up comic books that may not know what's going on in comic books now.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I was, alluding to. But absolutely.
I agree with you there, because, that's what's happening, because you go to the comic stores and, you get certain people that don't understand what's going on completely.
Right.
But, it's a bigger picture. And what would I care if I'm picking up a comic book, what's going on with the rest of the organization?
That's the thing.
Yeah, but you have that, and that's what the issue is too, is when that's saying as well, is that you have all this stuff happening now. It's not like before where it was Marvel Comics and that's it,
right,
or DC Comics and that's
right,
it. Yeah,
right. That's we in the know.
Yeah,
those of us who are in the fandom, we read comics and we know what's going on. But your average person off the street who it just sees a comic book, or they happen to see it in Walmart or something, and look at this. Let me try out Batman now. Let's see what's going on with that. I haven't looked at this.
But even that doesn't happen anymore. That's how it used to be, where I go to Walmart. Hey, look, I can pick up some comics.
Right.
They've made it so difficult to get into the paper aspect of things.
Right.
Because you remember when we were younger, you can go to the newsstand, you can go to the comic store, you can go to Walmart, you can go to a retail store. Yeah.
Go anywhere. And that's, again, that's part of the mismanagement, right? So if you do not properly assess an industry and feed its distribution channels, you're going to lose them, and you're going to do a piss poor job of maintaining the business so that it has longevity. And that's what's happened. Distribution partnerships were always very strong in all of those outlets that you mentioned. You could get comic books, at your comic book shop down the street. There were a lot more of them, obviously. You could get them at the candy store, that's where I got them. At the gas station. You're from New York, so that we've got the what we call the Te Amos, which are the cigar shops, or really what they are, magazine shops or quickie marts, right?
Those guys, that's where I picked up most of my comics as a kid.
Right.
Like, what was it? Optimal Cigars.
There you go, Optimal Cigars. Te Amo, Optimal. So
exactly.
All
and they
of
had
them
everything. They had all the magazines. They had all the comics. You go in there, you'll be able to pick up anything.
And listen, Ralph, those are all over the city. And like I said, this is how, if you're a good, prudent business manager, you have those relationships. You give them right discounts. You form those good relationships. And obviously, things have changed. Newsstand, isn't there really. So you have to change with the times. You have to figure out where to get this. Are you in airports? Are you in hospitals? Exactly. Are you in Walmart? Better relationship with Target, with Walmart, with all these chains. Where are people going to malls? So if you maintain these strong fundamentals, you don't have these kind of problems happening today. And guess what? You get a cheaper price. You're probably down about $1.50 to $2 on the price of each of these comics if you do that and you do it the right way. And that's where we are right now. They have to put the comics at this price because of poor business decisions they make.
Christina here
thankfully we don't have it. That's why our comic is priced correctly.
So that's what I like about it. Christina here is like, the quality is lacking in most mainstream comics.
Right.
Too many versions of characters. They need to simplify, scale back, and go back to basics, which is exactly what we're talking about right here.
Right. That's a great point. So I always like to use analogies, right? I was an athlete at a very high level before, and I'm actually going to use a reference to another sport. But when you do bodybuilding or lift weights, okay, you don't want to do, there's literally 500 different types of exercises that you could use for every muscle.
Right.
But what you really want to do is focus on fundamentals. You want to get the basic movements down so that your whole body gets the full impact of the workout. Otherwise, you're going to be at the gym for 4 hours, and you're literally going to do the exact same thing that you would have done anyway. So you want to be efficient. You want to do the basics, your deadlifts, your squats, your bench press, and that's pretty much it. You do a little cardio, you eat right. That's all you need to do. And that's, unfortunately, if you have the wrong trainer or the wrong guidance,
Yeah.
you're going to lose a lot of time and be very
Exactly.
inefficient with how you do it. So you got to do the basics. Good point.
It's funny that you're saying all that because this feels like a basic. It's a little hardcore, but it feels
Right.
like a basic comic book. It feels like
Right.
something I would have picked up as a kid.
Yeah.
Probably I shouldn't have been picking it up, but it's something. It feels like something I would have picked up as a kid. You know, and it's a basic and at the same time excellent way to write a story. You know.
Right, and that's an excellent point. We wanted, that was obviously intentional. What we wanted to do was create something that was very easy to digest.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to hit people with all this stuff going on, and you're just trying to tell a story. This is a story of a guy who's, he's had a rough time of things, and he's sort of harping back on his youth. You mentioned, he's a person, he's a Latino guy, and he's from the city, and he's got a lot of texture in his background. But the basic premise is this: the guy doesn't like people. He just wants to take care of people permanently who are abusing animals. And you get that right from the beginning. It's very simple. It's on newsprint. It's priced really affordably. And it's a very simple, clean, basic, fundamental story. And then as the story progresses, of course, that's when we get the comprehensive storyline.
And it's a good thing, I'm like amazed that you're partnering up with actually the American Humane Society, right?
Well, we got a lot of organizations that we support, and what we want to do is make sure that they get the support, because they're the ones who are actually doing what we call the real work. They're going out there, getting these animals in very bad situations, putting them in very good, healthy situations, so that they can grow a healthy, happy life.
Right.
And there's quite a few that we work with there. There's the Abandoned Ones Project, American Welfare Institute, and we, of course, make sure that they get promoted on the pages of our comic book at absolutely no charge. And of course, we continue to put out that product month after month, and that's what we want to do. Make sure they get the more donors, more memberships, so that the vetted organizations that we work with, and that's key. When you give money to a charity, a lot of times what you're doing is you're paying a salary, operations.
Right.
So the charities that we work with are vetted to make sure that their program to operations ratio is over 80%. So you actually really are truly fighting animal abuse when you read our comics. And there's no better way, in my opinion, than fighting it than reading our comics, because, like I said, when you do give to these organizations, which will remain nameless, because some of them do good. It's just how they're layered in terms of their format. They just don't do the job. But the organizations we work with most certainly do.
It's funny, with me and Annette, we're actually talking about that in the green room, and we won't bring the details in, but exactly what you were saying. Some organizations work better than others. Right.
And you could rest assured that all the organizations we work with have been very highly vetted, and each and every one of them, like I said, they meet that criteria. So every penny literally every penny, we say it at every show, every penny goes to fighting animal abuse when you buy our comics. And that's why we're very proud of the project. And it's not just me. I don't want to take all this credit. We have incredibly talented people working on this. Garnabiel is our artist who does our covers, and he's done a fantastic job.
Oh yeah, the stuff looks great, man.
Yeah,
you guys are doing good. It actually looks like a very good comic book, which is what catches my attention. It doesn't feel like I know you, as a little kid, you had the same experience as I did when they had the special issues. and it felt special when you were taking the issue, and you're like, I don't know, man, this doesn't look like the other books I'm reading.
I can't even listen to you say that without laughing out loud. But yes, absolutely.
It flashes.
Yeah, the true hardcore comic book fan always remembers the special issues, So
the art is just amazing. The character design is fantastic.
Right.
The story is so simple, but at the same time so complex.
Right.
And I love the fact that you guys are actually trying to get I guess the word out there on animal abuse.
That's why we exist. That's the sole reason why we exist. I had this idea many years ago, and truth be told, I think this is probably the first time I'm sharing this, but I was actually training for a fight. So I used to be a boxer, and one of my bucket list items, even though I was always competing at a very high level here in New York City, I never won a championship. So I was always, very good record for sparring, not just professionals, but champions. And it's just, I got my degree. And once I got my degree, you know, you join the corporate America and whatnot. And the training wasn't what it was. So, you know, stop the fighting.
Right.
So when the quarantine hit, you know, I'm sorry, the pandemic hit and we were in quarantine, I was already 3 months into my training for the Boston Masters World Championship. So there was a few of them. I think there was 7 that I was part of, and I was going to win. I wanted to win all those belts. And of course, the quarantine happened, the COVID and everything, and they canceled every single one of my fights. And the person I was hanging out with, I was dating at the time, she said, you know what? She got a book deal at the same time. She said, why don't you get that idea off the shelf that you had? And that was supposed to be a novel. And when I did take it off the shelf, I started working on it. It turned into a comic book. So that's how it happens. Life happens that way. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, I know as a writer, sometimes we think one thing and it turns into something else.
Right.
And, you know, I have to admit there's certain things that I've started off writing and I thought they were going to be one thing. And all of a sudden they've transformed completely into a whole other platform.
Right.
Corky.
Right.
Oh, he's talking about the fact that we were working on Let's Write a Story Together, which is the board behind me. I threw a corgi into the mix of things.
It was a
joke,
meme.
but now I have to run with it because somebody else liked the idea.
There you go. Listen, you never know with these things. You never know. It's like you have to. That's the thing about the creative mind. It's we're nurturers of the imagination.
Yeah.
Right. So it really depends how we do that nurturing. Sometimes it's a very slow process. Sometimes we get that we get bitten by it. And you just have to, you can't put it down. You know, I'm sort of the latter. You just have to get me going on it. And once I'm there, I can't put the thing down. And, you know, I mentioned before about this starting as a novel. So once it was clear that the outline lent itself better to a comic book, the first thing I did was went back to my alma mater, School of Visual Arts, right? And I knew it at the time that there were cartoonists there and whatnot. And the SVA was sort of known for comic books. And some of the kids I hung out with, not that I hung out with, but, you know, I rubbed shoulders with were comic book creators. I didn't know how seminal the school was to actual, you know, Marvel and DC.
Right.
So
it is. It's funny, the connections.
Right.
Yeah.
So I pick up the phone and I call because what I want to do is I don't have a lot of money. You know, I'm not a millionaire or anything. I have this idea.
Yeah.
I sketched out, I went to art school so I could draw. So I sketched out the character, the Calico. And I said, let me get in contact with the alumni department at the illustrators. And the first thing I do is scroll down their faculty. And I go halfway. I was actually going to call the first person. Let me just call the head and, give me a young, 19, 20, some kid who just got out of school or something. We'll give him some money. And, that I could afford and whatnot, and put him to work with this idea. Of course, he's going to draw better than me. And as I scroll down, and this is for you, all you Amazon shoppers out there. Keep scrolling, okay?
Yeah, sometimes
I'm a scroller.
Stay on top, yeah.
Yeah, I'm an admitted scroller, okay? You guys that just click that first, the second tier, no. You got to keep going down for those products because sometimes you get gems. Let me tell you something. When my mouse scrolled over Klaus Janson, okay, I had to look 3 times on the screen. I said, are you kidding me? Klaus Janson's on the faculty here. So the first thing I did was I clicked on that email link and I said, hey, let me see if I can get lucky here. And so I sent him an email. Right. I sent him an email. Of course, I had a name drop, my head of the dean of my department, who's also a very respected graphic design, master legend, Rich Wild, who worked with Milton Glaser, the guy who designed the I Love New York logo and a bunch of other logos. Anyway, so I don't hear a damn thing back. And about a week later, I'm at a barbecue. I don't even eat meat, but I was there. Having my corn on the cobs.
As Spanish people, we know this already. You're going to end up at a party. They're going to have tons of meat.
There you go.
Whether you eat it or not.
Oh, there's going to be rice and beans, and there's going to be some corn, and I'm going to have.
That's a given.
Right. So
Question is, what type of barbecue was it?
As any barbecue with alcohol is my kind of barbecue. As long as it's cold beer,
that was the other aspect of it. Everybody goes, "Oh, it's a barbecue." There's alcohol if it's a Spanish barbecue.
That's it. As long as there's cold beer, that's a barbecue, in my opinion. And it's outdoors, So anyway,
listen, it's all about the picante for me.
There you go. There you go. Oh, you got to have that picante, no doubt.
Oh, definitely.
I got to have my tongue at least 5 alarm fire before that beer comes down.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
I got an email from Klaus Janson at the party saying, "Hey, HH, I got your email. I took a look at your stuff. I love it. Let's talk tomorrow." He's my cell phone number.
Nice.
And the dude, I was like, there was commercials back. I'm going to date myself. There was commercials back in the 80s, Toyota or something like that, where they were jumping in the air. You ever?
Oh, what a feeling! Yeah. So you stay stuck.
There you go. I was up there in the air, man. That was the slowest jump you would have ever seen. All right, at that barbecue. And called him up the next day. We spoke for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and he was very thorough. And we kept speaking. We spoke again the following week. We spoke again. And he just gave me guidance, and I actually credit him for serving as a big impact on the guidance of the look of the character, because what I put out was frankly embarrassing if I would have put it out now. So he had me go back, and I told him, listen, speak to me as if I was your student. I don't want you to hold back just because I'm an adult and a business owner. I want you to give it to me, just like you give it to, your guys in the classroom, your guys and gals in the classroom. So
right.
Don't hold back. So that was it. And I credit him. I really appreciate Klaus Janson. He's a legend on every level. We just lost one right from our very own Bronx.
Yeah.
Legend Perez. And, he's someone who, I went to they did the memorial service at Mega.
Yeah, Mega. I heard they were going to do one. Yeah.
Right. So listen, guys and gals, cherish your creatives. Yeah. Because we're not gonna have them, forever.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you got yourself a customer here. Christina goes, "You sold me on your comic. I just bagged it. Digital issues 1 through 5."
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You're doing a wonderful thing, and what you're doing is you're joining our fight against animal abuse, and we appreciate you very much, and so are the animals.
I gotta admit, one of the reasons they caught my attention is because in my writings I tend to have animal characters or characters that are part animal, it's funny because it always goes in that direction. And I'm a big animal lover. I've always had a cat, and I go back to the old D&D phrase where you have your familiars, you have your pet buddies, and it's always never been in my mind where you don't have this other side to you, because that's what they are. They're another side of your coin.
Right. Animals do that. They spending time alone, as I do. I live alone. I have a place here in the city, and I'm asked all the time, "Hey, what's the name of your pet?" They automatically think I have animals. I have
Makes
pets.
Sense. Yeah.
And I don't. I live close to the park, and I'm very fortunate that I could just walk to the park. And that's actually where I do a lot of my writing in my head. I go for very, very long walks. And
I know the feeling.
For your creatives, you know what I'm talking about. For all you creators out there, do not underestimate the power and the effectiveness of a long walk. Okay, I walk 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
Okay, and I do a lot of my writing in here, and I always make sure to obviously carry my phone. And the minute I think of something, I just speak it into my phone, record it. And when I get back, I do the balance of the writing. But a lot of the ideas are just you in your head alone. But the point I say this, I have so many animal friends that I see on a regular basis, with being close to the park. And, there's squirrels, there are raccoons, there are birds. There's so many wonderful animals here in the city. And people don't realize that, we live in two of the very important aviary paths.
Right.
Birds going from the south to the north.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you can see all manner of birds and wonderful species. We have turtles here in the park, everything.
We're also home to one of the largest migrations of the horseshoe crab.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. I terrorizing my mother at like 8 years old with all the kids in the neighborhood. When she's getting home, and like all she wants, this poor woman. I love my mother. She just wants to get home after working 9 hours at the hospital, and just wants to get home. The first thing you do, go into the bathroom or do whatever you're gonna do. And there is a tub full of gigantic horseshoe crabs in the tub. And these things are the most primitive. I mean, I don't care what you put in front of me. There's nothing more primitive than a horseshoe crab. This thing looks like a giant armor-plated cockroach with a huge tail. I mean, just in describing it, it sounds like pretty terrifying. You know?
The Nautilus still exists.
Right. Exactly.
See, but that's why as writers, as comic book writers, most of the times heroes end up with animal powers because we know how powerful these animals are. You know,
animals have the incredible ability of striking terror, exactly. Okay, to anyone, regardless of how dangerous or harmful they are. You know, it's part of the human psyche.
I've seen something cute scare the hell out of somebody. So
there you go.
Personally, I don't think it's necessarily like it's the strength of the animal that scares people. It's rather the fact that people don't really know much about them that creates the fear.
Yeah,
because if you look at like a lot of the animals that people are scared of, a lot of them are fairly harmless in comparison.
Right.
Like,
well said.
That is true. But like I said, though, I've seen people afraid of kittens. So
let me tell you, I know people who are afraid of their own toes. They have a toe phobia. It's like a real thing.
Yeah,
I've heard about it.
Humans can find, and that, I think, you know, Nathan, you bring up a great point. It's the human condition.
Yeah.
You know, the human condition. Sapiens evolved in a very, very different way than our predecessors, Erectus and some of the other ones, because by that time we had a lot of different, you know, tools at our disposal. So it was evolution with tools and gadgets and tactics. So here's the mind now, who hasn't been. I mean, it's been challenged. Don't get me wrong, but now it's being challenged with so many different things, and the mind coming out of these caves, and how are you going to interface with this? And what can that do? Oh my goodness, witchcraft! That thing's the devil, you know, or it could fly, you know. So Sapiens is a remarkable animal. You know, we've only been around, for what we know, just a little under or over, you know, 300,000 years. So just think about that in that little bit of time. All the other types of humans that have been, and how they've interacted with animals, and the kind of relationships that they've had with animals. It's fascinating stuff. I'm a big, even though I'm a you know, obviously classically trained, you know, artist, creative person, right? I'm a big fan of science, and both my parents were microbiologists. And
you have to be, like, if you're creative, you want to understand. You know, if you're an artist, you want to break it down. If you're a writer, even more, it's all about the research. It's all about figuring out how you're going to write this, and you have to start to figure out, you know, at least if you're doing your job right, you have to do the research and figure out how all this stuff works.
Bingo. So that's an excellent point, Raf. And frankly, I think that is one of the things that's lacking today, right? I'm not going to credit myself being some kind of, you know, science expert here, but the key is loving something so much that you want to spend that additional 2 or 3 days understanding how it is that punch comes off the shoulder, how it is that the punch is delivered, the science of fighting. You know, the essence of comic books is conflict. It's good versus evil.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't understand at least the basics of fighting and conflict, how the hell are you going to go out and read a comic book? I know there's people who haven't even been punched in the face, who were talking about fighting, you know, heroes fighting, you know, villains and going through walls. What are you, kid? You haven't even been punched, you know. And this is not to say that you have to be an absolute expert in everything. Like I said, I don't have any, even an iota, expertise in science, but I'm very thorough and passionate about whatever the subject matter is going to be. And if you see, to your point, Raf, if you look at those artists, those writers and artists, by the way, but writers like Claremont, like or Alan Moore, or even not even in comic books, but look at I'm going to use J.K. Rowling as an example, because she's been, I use her as an example because she's been phenomenally successful with her series. But the main takeaway with her, when I first read the book, and that's a funny story, but is how descriptive she is. She gives you so much texture and layers in how she tells that story. You could smell every room that she's writing about. I'm not kidding. When you're in that bar that they go to drink that butterscotch, whatever the hell that is, I could smell. I could hear the conversation. I could smell what I could. I could
ambiance of that place. Yeah,
Ralph, I could feel the carbonation of the drink, but that I'm about to drink in that room, and that's what you call a descriptive writer. This is someone who's extremely thorough, who's carrying enough of the subject matter to hold your hand, and this is what we do as creators: we hold your hand, and then we bring you down this path, down that path, down that, and we need your attention. How do we get your attention? It's by compelling content.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's that level of acute focus and attention on the product. And again, this is not to bash the creatives, because a lot of times I'll do say this, but I always make sure to have the audience understand it's yes, the creatives are partly to blame, but it's really the management and editorial. Pay these people, pay them, and number one, pay them. Then give them guidance, give them support that they need. Are they messing up with the continuity? Okay, well, bring them into a room, close the door, and give them some books. Put your arm around them. Say, hey, this is why we need to do this and that, and huddle. Remember, there was this concept back in the day called huddling. Let's huddle, okay? And you all get together as a team, and you tackle the problem, regardless of what it is. In this case, creative, be a military problem, a corporate problem, whatever it is. You huddle, you do a huddle, you powwow, and you really get in. Everybody rolls up their sleeves and gets in and on this, so we could all solve this together. I don't see that happening. That's what happens in a corporate culture.
Yeah.
It's a very different animal that you get. Right? That's why I implore your audience, support your indies. Support your indies, support your young creatives. Even Marvel and DC. There's some young creatives out there that are, they're doing the best they can. They just don't have the guidance. So there we go. As a young creative. All right. Yo la bendiga. So that's it. That's what we need. Support the youth and empower them. Don't just say, oh, this guy, this person sucks. This person, I hear it all the time. And the shows that I'm a part of. But I'm always careful to say, listen, they're trying, and just really get on that editor, in that managerial level, and empower, get them to do their jobs, because frankly, these people are lost.
I was going to say that's why we've been enjoying the independent so much, because it's so funny that you have all these people complaining about where comics are, and I'm like, dude, just support some of the independents.
Right.
I know you like Marvel and DC, but come on, the independents are doing the things you want Marvel and DC to do. The independents are doing. Go support some of them. There's some great stories out there. There's some great books out there. There's some great art out there that's not in those comic books. And I know you feel like Marvel and DC it's the end all be all, but at the same time, there's so much more out there, for you to discover, especially as a comic book person or as somebody who likes this industry.
Right, folks. When I say guys, I mean guys and gals, right? So, folks, listen. Listen to Rafa. There are titles like The Walking Dead, like Ice Cream Man, like Something's Killing the Children, okay, like Outcast. I really enjoyed that series by Robert Kirkman, Outcast. Some of is more popular stuff like Invincible, et cetera, et cetera. But I really liked Outcast. There's a lot of indie titles, even Spawn. Spawn is technically an indie title, even though it's on issue 10 billion right now. But it's got great talent, and the bottom line is people are trying hard out there. There are people trying hard, and they're putting out a great product. So don't sleep on your indies. Get out there and support them, because there's a lot of wonderful things. Remember, comics started as a counterculture. So the counterculture, it's sort of like I tell people, it's sort of like Manhattan and Brooklyn. The edge and grit from Manhattan went to Brooklyn. So you see that in some of your neighborhoods now. It's like, wait a minute, that's the indies. They were, the indies was Marvel and DC was indies. Okay, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, when Marvel and DC started out, they were just Marvel and DC. They were the bigger company, but they were just Marvel and DC. And it's a great segue because and support the independents. You guys should support Here Comes Calico. It's a great book. You're doing a good job of putting all the stuff together. The art is amazing. It kind of has that old feel of the 80s comic books that we used to love. Even some of the stuff like here, it looks like one of those advertisements from when we were kids.
Right. They loved it. They loved it.
So people want to support you. People want to go find Here Comes Calico.
Right.
Where do they go? What's going on?
Right.
Give them what they need to know.
Sure. Two main places. Just go to sigmacomics.com. That way you can get direct from us. Or when we have a new issue that comes out, you can pre-order it, usually on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So you can go to both places, and that's because we have customers that prefer, one platform over the other. So we just do both. And so three places: Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and sigmacomics.com. That's where you get it. And I think you're really going to love this series. And listen, let's do a little logic, right? So you're going to spend a very little amount of money, almost certainly less than $10 if you pick up, one or two issues, most certainly. And what's going to happen? The worst case scenario is you don't like our book. Guess what? You just donated that money to fight animal abuse. Okay. Now, that's the worst case scenario. Okay. Best case is you pick up this book and you're like, whoa, like a lot of people are doing, and they're blown away. And you only paid, a few bucks. So get it done, guys. It's a great thing. If you go on our Kickstarter right now, you can get a digital copy of Here Comes Calico for $4. I mean, it's like, and that's the new issue, the pre-order. You can get the whole series on digital for, I think it was like $12, something like that.
Which is pretty cheap for a bunch of issues.
You can get the whole series, and even if you want print, for all you physical print copy readers out there, we have reader copies. I think you can do them for $20 and get the whole set right now on Kickstarter.
Which is barely unheard of to get like $5 for like
$5. $5, so it's a great price. And like I said, every penny goes to. That's the thing. It's like not only is the price affordable, but every penny goes to fighting animal abuse. I can't stress enough. You're really fighting animal abuse when you read Here Comes Calico. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, any way you look at it.
So here's a question for you, because I love the book. Sigma. It looks like it's getting ready to do some other stuff. Are you getting ready to do something else, or are we just looking at Here Comes Calico for the foreseeable future?
Right. So the short answer to that is yes. We want to focus solely on this book, and that's because we don't want our attention anywhere else. We want to make sure that we put out a solid product. And Here Comes Calico Volume 1. Okay, Volume 1 is going to be from issues 1 to 8, and we do have something else planned, and that something else would be Volume 2 because of the demand. You may not see it here on the Kickstarter numbers because we're under we just crossed 100, but
let's see, you are at, I can put it up for a minute. You are almost. Yeah, you're pretty much funded. You're at 1,800 right now. We need to get you to 2,500. You already have 104 backers.
Right. Well, that's
25 days to go.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we're definitely at a good pace. I guess my point is that not too many people know about us. So and they, that's why we're doing a lot of these shows. But when they do know about us, that's when we get. I mean, we can get 200-300. In one of these outings. So that's why when they learn about us, they flock. And the problem with Kickstarter that we've had is they don't they look at our book and they see it as a sort of malignant sort of entity, that we're sort of putting out this content out there about animals being hurt and abused. And even though we do have the dissenting side of it, which is obviously a hero that fights against the animal abuse.
Exactly.
There's still that element, and that's because we're not going to sugarcoat things.
And you don't sugarcoat it at all. The reason, you can see the reason why he goes after the people he goes after, because you can see what they've done.
Right. And we had to do it. Raph. and we weren't going to sugarcoat this like everyone else does. We're going to show you exactly what happens and exactly who's going to go do it, and in the manner in which he's going to go do it. And that's really the satisfaction that the reader gets, because unfortunately that satisfaction is that reader is going to have to go through some uncomfortable experiences when they read our comic books. We want to give a realistic experience to the reader.
Right.
We don't want everything to be all nice and comfortable. We want you to sort of squirm a little bit when you're checking this out, and if you have the stomach and the wherewithal to deal with that discomfort, then you're going to be treated to a pretty special book, because the way the Calico goes about getting justice is very unique. Actually.
Yeah, it's you do a very good job at it. I don't feel like you go too grotesque, and at the same time, it's grotesque. But it's a balance of things. You're not going out there for that shock factor. You're showing something, and you're showing what he does, and it's kind of graphic, but at the same time, you're not like, look what we're doing. We're going above and beyond and going crazy with this. No. It's part of the story, which is one of the things I love about it, is because you've actually decided, oh, this is a story. This is what we're doing for the story. Everything is part of the story, which you don't see in comics much now, because it's a lot about shock factor lately.
Right. So that's an excellent point. So it's not shock to be shock, right? So the shock factor is there for a very important reason. It's to draw the reader into a very difficult situation that the Calico is going to have to overcome.
Exactly.
His very questionable, moral skills, morality and skill set, and high skill set. So it's like you got someone who's questionably addressing things that are extremely difficult with a very high level of expertise. So it makes for a very compelling read. But as you pointed out, it's there for a reason. So it's sort of like a dish that you're preparing. You need to make sure that all of the items have the right flavors and there's the good balance, so that when you walk away, you're in awe, like, whoa, this is good stuff. Because guess what? We want you coming back.
Right, but that's the whole point. Is it's good writing, it's good creating. It's and you can tell as you read even through the first book, that it's crafted lovingly. It's a good story. The art is put in the right way. It just something you guys should all pick up. It has a reminder of old comic books. It also has a great story going on. It's for a great cause. There's so many wins here.
Right. That's it, and that's all we wanted to convey to the audience. You've tuned into a show with individuals here who know comics. These gentlemen haven't been reading comic books for years or decades. It's generations. So any person who has acclimated to anything for that period of time, it develops a palate for what is good. And we thankfully have a product that countless people now, and mainly the YouTubers, they're hailing the book as a good, successful product. So,
and I have to admit, like, when I went down the rabbit hole, I saw your video, and like I was talking about you earlier, it was so interesting to see how the shock of, oh my God, you should see what he does here. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I had already read the book by then. And that's why I was like, I got to ask him the question, because to me, it's like, if we've seen Punisher do worse stuff, why are we so surprised about what Calico's doing here when it's very comparable? And I was like, okay, that's going to be one of the questions I asked, because I got to admit, I enjoyed watching the video, and I enjoyed watching all the shock, and I enjoyed watching how many people liked the book, and I was like, okay.
It's fun to see as a creator, someone who creates something, puts their heart and soul into it, to have the reaction that they have. And listen, I tell people, my close friends talk to me about this. We love the book, but man, I can't wait till someone tries to bash this book. We want to, find out who they are. And yet I said, what do you think? Hey, I'm from the Bronx. So you have people talking like that.
I know.
And I said, you got to be kidding me, man. That's the last thing you want to do. The best thing you could ever get as a creative person, in my opinion, is to have a dissenting view on something that you create, because guess what? That's the absolute best learning opportunity you have if it's valid. Some people are just going to hate, but if they actually bring up, valid points, then, we listen to them, and we do. I thank everyone who reviews the books, whether positively or negatively, because, you're always learning. And a creative person never stops. A good creative person, I think, never stops learning.
Yeah, you hit it on the nose. As a creative person, you want, as much as you want praise, you want that assenting view, because it actually helps you out. Absolutely. It makes you better.
Absolutely. Listen, Muhammad Ali is a legend, not because he won all those fights, because he got knocked down, and he got back up, and he won a lot of those fights too. Or if it wasn't in that same fight, he came back in another fight and won. And so obviously, I'm not trying to compare myself. I'm just
but it makes it's such a great analogy, because as Muhammad Ali had a great talk. And he wasn't just talk. He would put it out there and then show you that he's not just talk.
Right.
And I used to love listening to him. I used to love listening to his words, and it was like wrestling before wrestling.
Right, he was a showman. He mentioned that he patted himself after Gorgeous George, who was a wrestler back in the 40s and 50s. And so this was a very smart man who was doing his thing. He was a true showman. But I guess it wasn't to compare myself. It was just to compare the aspects of pursuing that goodness, in quality, and understanding that you are going to get dissenting opinion and to use it positively. We had one of these individuals who went so far as to do a video, saying how much he didn't like the book.
Wow.
And sure enough, he's turned around and now has become a customer and now is a fan. But this is what happens. You have comic book fans are passionate.
Yeah,
but you listen to them. Don't listen to them. Don't just reject them. I said this in another video. You're preparing a meal, okay? And if you're coming in, this example I used in terms of what's happening right now in the Big Two, where people are bringing back the sandwiches or the hamburgers and saying, hey, what the hell is this? You got one person doing it, it's one thing. But if you got a ton of people, dozens, hundreds, millions, say, hey, this is no good. You don't tell them, hey, I don't read my comic book, this and that. That's not how you treat people.
No.
What you do is you listen and you learn, and then you go back and you see what you can and what you can't do. It's not just discrediting them right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take the good with the bad feedback and put love, continue pouring love and passion and caring into the product, and don't disrespect these people. Why? Because for a lot of these people, they've been reading these things for a very long time, and they've been buying that menu for a long time. So if you come in with a new chef and you start putting in a different they have every right to complain about that. So don't disrespect them, care about them, thank them, and see how you can win them over with quality, hard work, effort, and dedication. And that's what we're going to keep doing.
Right. And one of the things we love here at the Bit and Apple is the passion in the project. And you're bringing the passion in the project. You can see the passion in the project. There's so many levels of the passion in the project in this book that I can't even, I feel like we haven't even covered all of the passion that there is coming out of this. And you can see as you're talking about it, how much passion you have for it, and on multiple levels.
Right. I was interviewed recently by a gentleman who I met, and this is a gentleman I met. He's a YouTuber. He's a pretty popular YouTuber. But I met him in person, and it was just a one-on-one interview without any cameras, just he and I.
Mm-hmm.
And he was shocked that he noticed what was happening as I spoke to him. He actually looked. He said, HH, look at your arm. There's goosebumps on it.
Yeah.
He was right. When I have goosebumps on my arms talking about comics, because I'm very passionate about these things, you got to understand something. This is for all the people out in the audience, especially the younger people. Comic books is an essential form of Americana.
Yeah,
it's one of the true American art forms. Okay, we created this. So even though there were countries prior to the mass creation of comics that were creating one-off things that had depictions of images and stories, comic books as we know them are an American original. Okay, just like if you want to say apple pie, right? So, or jazz music is another American original. These are quintessential pieces of Americana And you as a creator, not only in other words, you're not just any creator. You have a very fundamental responsibility when you do this.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't care if you're Sylvester Stallone. I don't care if you're Bruce Willis, whoever you are. You know, Will Smith. I don't care who you are. When you were a kid, you had aspirations. And I absolutely guarantee you that every single one of those names that I mentioned, and millions more that are world famous, they first looked up to Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. My point is, comic books are inspirational.
Yeah.
They depict the absolute pinnacle of human achievement and performance in a document that you can roll up as a child. You can go down to your store. You have a sense of ownership. I bought that.
Yeah.
You put it in the back of your comic book. I'm sorry, in the back of your pocket. And you can
just put that right in the back.
Right in the back of the pocket, and you could walk away like a hero, like a champion. You might have had a bad day and the bully got you, but you know what? You leapt into these pages.
Exactly.
And for a good 20 to 35, 30 minutes or whatever it was it takes you to read a comic book, you were the king of the universe. Not the world, the universe.
Exactly.
Okay? And that's what comic books allow you to do. They're inspirational. And this is something that, again, I say this to the younger people because, older folks like us know this, but you have a real responsibility out there. And I say this to, and I really wish all the young people who are working at Marvel and DC heard this, because I don't think some of them understand this.
Right.
You have a massive responsibility.
Massive.
When you take on the reins of these characters. And this is why some of these people are getting upset at you, because you're not doing some of this due diligence. And again, not all of it's your fault. Some of the people who you're working under, it's really their responsibility to making sure that you're always on track and you're given the guidance and the right financial, moral, and educational support to do the work that you need to do. So again, I'm not bashing you, but understand that as readers, even the younger readers, that's what's happening in comics. You really need to be good at this because this is a big responsibility. I take pride in what I do. Aside from the fact that the cause that we support is a wonderful one, fighting animal abuse, we're dealing with the potential of not a very young person, because our books are rated M for mature, 17 and older, but still someone who could be formed at the age of 17, 18. So we try to at least have the underpinnings of understanding that this guy's trying to do the right thing.
Right.
It's just, it's hard in his life.
It is, and that's how life is in general. It's sometimes to do the right thing is one of the hardest things.
Right.
He here says mainstream comics are reverting back to house style, but we still love the characters. And he also says that it's storytelling trumps all, and he's right.
Right.
It's really about the storytelling, and this is a visual storytelling.
Right.
And, even Joseph Campbell himself said that this is American mythology.
Right. Absolutely. And so excellent point. When you say the person there who said storytelling trumps all, I agree with you, and understand this as part of that. The storytelling isn't solely up to the writer.
Yeah.
Okay. The artist also is an important part of that storytelling mix, which is what makes comic books so special. You can have a great writer, but you also need to have a really great storyteller in the way of that artist, so that he or she can depict and craft that imagery out there to make it look exactly how it's supposed to, so that it gets the reaction it's supposed to. And that's so key.
And it's definitely, especially with comic books, it's about the writer and the artist working on a book.
Right.
I know a lot of people like to think it's all about the artist, and then there's some people that like to think it's all about the writer.
Right.
It's a visual media, so your artist is always important. But if you don't have good stories,
right. We have inside the book is Javier Orbich. He's the interior artist. We do have a new artist that we're working with. His name is Renato Pinto, and you're going to be hearing a lot about him. And he's working on our books right now, and he will be in the future. So we're very excited working with him. And look out! Sigma Comics is coming.
Oh, definitely, man. You guys, do yourself a favor. Check out Sigma Comics. Check out Here Comes Calico. Support the Kickstarter, because this is this thing. Again, it's a win on so many different levels. Even if you don't like the story, you're still supporting something important. Animals are important part of our lives. If you love your dogs, if you love your cats, if you love animals in general, this is a good book to pick up.
That's it. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity, and I love what you do for comics as a whole. And keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing the right things.
Dude, you love how much passion you have for the geekdom itself, for the comic books themselves. You can tell that you are a comic book collector, and you're coming this from a level of passion. Like I said before, we love passion here on Bit and Apple TV, and that's what we like to showcase is, look, dude, we got something for you. Look how passionate this guy is about how much he loves his story, about how much he loves his book, and he wants to get this out there to you guys.
That's it. Well said. Couldn't say it better. Thank you so much for having us, and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully we'll keep doing the wonderful stuff and keep moving the thing forward. That's all we want.
Exactly.
Just keep moving it forward.
And that's another thing here at Bit and Apple we love is keep moving forward. It's the way to go. It's how life goes. If we were talking a lot about Muhammad Ali. If you get hit, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit. It matters if you get back up.
That's right. You got to roll with those punches. You got to take them, give them, and at the end, it's about raising those hands, baby.
Exactly. Keep the fight going. Fight on.
Right. Keep fight on, baby.
With that, I will say, make sure you see us on Wednesday for the Written Writ, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Nat, do you have something to say before I wrap this up?
Thai chili peppers are delicious, especially when fresh.
I knew you were going to do something. All right, guys.
We have some Latinos in the house, so make sure you got some plantains in there, too.
Exactly. Plantains are good. With that, I'll say till next time, and adios.